In order to be a champ in torque, you can't be a pushover.
7-time champion in Pro Light. It's my 3rd year in Pro 2. You're racing guys like Rob Mack, Bryce Menzies. They're not pushovers. It's a little bit different.
There's too many guys in this class that are going to do whatever it takes to win, and sometimes that means banging doors.
That's what makes off-road racing exciting. I mean, you're banging doors, leaning on each other, pushing each other around. I mean, it's not for the timid.
In torque racing, it is a battle out there. No one's going to hand it to you.
You gotta give respect to get respect.
Yeah, there are guys in here in this class that will push you around.
If they're not gonna abide by that, I guess it's every man for himself. I've been around in this series for a while, 20-some years. 7-time champion in Pro Light. It's my 3rd year in Pro 2. It's a little bit different.
Pro 2 is like, I think, one of the most competitive classes. I mean, you got veteran Rob Mack, Scott Taylor, Jeff Kincaid, Chad Horde. They've all been in the game forever. You got to give it your 100% all the time. If you're not giving it 100%, you're going to get passed.
In short course racing, we're racing these huge trucks on a track, and we're all driven to win. We're going out for one main goal, and that is to get the checkered flag in the race. We could all stand around before the race and talk to each other saying, let's have a good race, let's race clean and all this. But once you put your helmet on and you're going for one main goal, and that's to get the checkered flag, there's going to be rough driving. There's going to be people hitting into each other.
We are 5 minutes before the race and who we are 5 minutes after the race are different people. But, when we're in that truck, we may not mean to make it happen. We're not deliberately doing it, but, we're pro racers. We got to get these trucks in the winner's circle. So sometimes some things happen, but hopefully when we all step out the truck, we can shake hands.
You got to do what you feel is right in that situation. And you know what? If you're stepping across the line, you're going to get it back.
Right.
People have long memories in races. It's going to get served back to you.
We believe in letting these guys race. Off-road racing is about guys that are out there driving as hard as they can and giving 110% every corner, every lap. When they're doing that and the trucks are bouncing and jumping all over the place, they're going to bump into each other occasionally. And, we don't see it as our job to sit there and say, okay, every time somebody bumps into another one that we have to make a call on that. So we let them race.
I'm considered one of the cleanest drivers out here. I always try to be respectful to everybody out there, and I feel like I know what the line is, and the officials definitely at the driver's meeting always tell us what the line is, and when we start getting out of control, they'll try to back us down and kind of go back to racing instead of smashing into each other.
I think it's a gray area of our sport of, what is rough driving, what is good hard racing, and what is intentionally taking somebody out.
These guys are right on the verge of out of control. I mean, they're just almost out of control. So it's hard in the dirt, in the mud, to be under 100% control.
I think we all want to race clean, but there's also been instances, and the closer it gets to the end of the season and the more that the championship comes into view, or it's coming near the end, you're seeing people take some chances, and you're starting to see people lean on each other.
It's getting harder and harder. Everybody's pushing more, and it's kind of becoming more of a contact, what we say, harder driving style. People are driving in harder, but you know that's how we got to go and win these races. It seems like.
Yeah, the level of competition's definitely been getting tighter. You know, the trucks, as time goes on, the Pro 2 class, you know, the rules are so tight. You know, you can only do so much, and I think a lot of the field is actually catching up.
I mean, everybody's got big horsepower now. Everybody's got the traction, handling goods, a lot of experience.
So like our team used to have advantage of because we always stepping our game up, always trying new stuff, and now it's like everybody's at the same level. Like you're saying, you gotta sometimes rub on each other to move them out of the way to get the position, so it's just coming down to that.
Aggressive isn't going in there and just drilling the person out of your way. I mean, it's setting them up, leaning on them a little bit, giving them a little tap here and there, letting them know you're there. And some races you can hang out and be patient and it'll come to you. In some races you gotta put it down and get aggressive.
You gotta know when to dive and drive real hard and use people up and get in their head a little bit that you're coming, because that always plays a key into getting to the front.
Rob Mack, Bryce Menzies, you know, it seems like they're pushing their way up through the pack. I'm not going to let that happen, you know what I mean? It's racing, I know it is, but Rubin's racing, and I think the pressure's on, and I want that championship just as bad as they do.
No one's going to hand it to you. So a lot of times you have to go and take it.
Pro 2's a tough class, and yeah, there are guys in here that will push you around.
There's not a lot of give and take. There's probably a little more take than give.
Yeah, it seems to be that way, especially when you get a little tighter track. You know what I mean? Like Chicago.
We knew Chicago was a tight track, and guys had to be on their game.
Sometimes on these tracks they get super tight where you have to use another guy to get an advantage. So, you know, sometimes fenders are flying, you're slamming into each other. You don't mean to a lot of the times, but nowadays the racing is so close together that you have to push that much harder, and you're going to bang into each other.
The guy's got to get in there and he's got to make that move, but he knows he's faster than that guy in front of him.
Especially, you know, we're into the mid-season now with Pro 2, and I think we've kind of had that courtesy going on all season, and it's kind of a give-take, you know what I mean? You're going to give the guy the respect he's given you, and I don't think we really had a lot of beating banging going on this year. We had a little bit at Chicago here, you know, some race lead, people pushing each other around, so I think you see it starting to ramp up towards the end of the season.
You look at where you are in the points and how many rounds are there left, and sometimes you make different choices, and you know you need to get a little more aggressive to try to get yourself higher up on the podium.
We were talking about tight little track where distances are going, you know, and I had pretty much a weekend at Chicago. I was doing great.
Throughout the season, I was kind of behind. I got to make some moves.
Okay, he used me to use the corner, at least get me so I can let me square up, but he didn't. He put me in the wall.
The incident there in Chicago with Jeff Kincaid was a time where if I don't do something now, the whole championship for me could slip away.
But you got to give respect to get respect. If they're not going to abide by that, I guess it's every man for himself.
Welcome to Chicagoland Speedway. The trucks are lined up. They're rolling out for some off-road racing action.
Pro 2 race on night one at Chicago.
You know, here we are at Chicago. I had a great race going. My spotter had me 3 to 5 truck lengths ahead of Rob Mack, running a great pace, running good.
I looked at the point schedule and the race schedule and realized, hey, we're halfway through the season, and if I'm going to win this championship, we need to get something done. It's time for us to win.
Gives me a big slam, moves my front end over. I'm like, all right, you know, we start going a little more. And I'm like, Rob, whoa.
The battle for the lead is heating up.
Rob come in way hot, slammed him.
Rob Mack gets into Jeff Kincaid.
I heard people were saying that I took him to the wall.
And then come down into the more sweeping left-hander and punted Jeff into the wall.
McCaffrey takes Kincaid into the wall.
Give me the proper clearance of, you know, I would say protocol. A little common courtesy. I thought when he'd get to the corner, he would have turned and let me release off him, but there was no place for me to go. I did it on purpose or didn't do it.
Hard to tell who entered at what angle and who came in where. After the race, Jeff's obviously pretty upset about it.
You took a tape over and showed it, right?
Well, the thing is, first I went and I talked to him. I said, Jason, here. Yeah, the USAC. The guy that sets up in the tower, Jason Smith, he's the director. He's the one that controls what happens. And you try to learn what he allows and what he goes through.
It kind of falls into that gray area. of maybe that is rough driving, maybe that's just racing. That one was one where the contact was hard enough that unfortunately it did put Jeff's truck out of the race, and that always makes the situation look a little worse.
First off, I had two things that went through my mind. One, the teammates. I felt like they needed to handle that within.
We could have got a 1-2 for JBR. If he'd have passed me one or two corners after that, no problem.
Beginning of it happening, yes, that's me. It's time to win. It's time to gain points to try to win that championship. But actually intentionally take him to the wall, that's not me, and that's not what I'd ever do to anyone, especially Jeff. I mean, he's part of the Traxxas team.
But number two, I mean, you know, Rob Mack's reputation in this sport is very much clean driver,
yeah.
And exactly.
Jeff is too.
Yeah. I mean, Jeff and Rob are absolutely the two cleanest drivers out on the racetrack.
Rob's a fierce competitor. He's just got this way of putting a door on you, and it didn't count. You know what I mean? He's got a way of doing a move on you, and he moved you, but he really didn't move you. I don't know how he does it, but he does it. But he makes it look like it was okay.
Yeah.
Now me, that's just blatant. Somebody's going for a ride, fingers get pointed at me.
Next night, then, you know, coming to the last lap of the Pro 2 race.
The second night, when Bryce got into me and hooked me and not let me drive.
Last lap coming to the white, and you got to go for it to get the podium. You put your helmet on, you're going to go out there and do anything you can to get to on top of the box or at least on the podium to get some of those points and kind of boost everybody's morale up a little bit. So it was all or nothing.
Bryce gets inside him. They go around the corner to, you know, kind of touching.
So all I got to do is protect my line. So I tucked in, turned slow. Once you know it, Bryce hooks my back tire, rides me.
I kind of just put my nose on his rear end and kind of pushed him out a little bit to make him over-rotate. And then I slid to the inside.
Ends up, I'm facing the crowd, and I'm supposed to be going back this way.
Menzies goes to the inside of Kincaid. Kincaid gets a little wide. Menzies driving right through Kincaid.
When you take and you spin a guy out in the last couple corners, hook his bumper, spin him out, intentionally try to drive through him, that's not racing.
You got to do what you got to do to get to the podium, and sometimes you got to do some rough driving, and it comes down to that.
I feel like that's still acceptable hard racing in this sport.
There's no stopping Menzies.
If that's the way they're going to play, I guess that's the way we're going to play.
Coming around the sweep or coming to the finish, it kind of looked like Jeff was aiming for you and trying to get you.
Hit the wall.
He came after him to try to hit him, and he missed and hit the wall, and that's what ended his race.
Well, you and I had the same thing at Crandon.
Yeah.
I actually tried to hit you back, but I missed you.
Yeah, you're not going to let me get away. But I know, but still, that's part of racing. Well, wait a minute. You're not going to get away that easy.
It looks like payback time. Here comes Kincaid. Puts a bumper on Menzies, and now Kincaid's in the wall.
Maybe at some point we look at that and think, okay, it's getting to the point where guys are starting to take advantage of that and not respecting each other.
My question was, the first day I ran the line, I got nerfed. The second day when I come in, when Bryce hooked me, he said I pinched down on Bryce. I said, well, I'm protecting my line. What do you want me to do?
These guys are professional race car drivers, and they have to respect each other. And the thing I always tell them is you race the way you want to be raced. If a guy wants to go out there and start beating and banging on somebody else, well, I think he needs to expect to get beaten and banged on the next time.
And I said, you know, that's a big can of worms you're opening up, because some people take that as, does that mean I walk over and I punch him in the face, and if he ever does it again, it's going to be a bat? I thought Bryce and Rob kind of took some pretty bad shots at me at Chicago, and what I look at is I got 2 get me out of jail cards free in my back pocket. Someday you're going to see that come back. Basically, Jason said, police yourself. If he gave you one, he's got one coming. I've been pushed around a lot, been rubbed a lot. Jeff Kincaid's probably going to have to change his style of driving a little bit. Get a little more aggressive, quit being Mr. Nice Guy.
The heavy horsepower trucks like Pro 2 and Pro 4, they throw a lot of roost, as we call it, you know, a lot of spray out of the back of the trucks.
It's like a machine gun behind these trucks.
I've seen rocks the size of footballs.
I'll kind of be like this, and I'll block some of the roost.
It hits you so hard it almost blows your head back. It's unbelievable.
When I first started racing short course off-road, I used to wear an open face helmet and goggles like motocross guys do. A couple people, maybe even Johnny Greaves, I think they'd all got hit by rocks, and it's like, you know what, we need to do something about this. No more open face helmets, you guys need to wear full face helmets. And then came the screen. You'll look at our trucks and there'll be a screen that has about 1 inch by 1 inch to 2 inch by 2 inch holes in it to help protect us. Like if there is a rock that comes flying, that screen will hopefully stop it.
These trucks with 900 horsepower with two-wheel drive is just throwing so much mud. So here, especially at the track, it's sand, mud, rock, everything.
Here at Bark River, the natural soil, which is what the track surface is a very sandy soil content, and it has a lot of rock in it.
It's like a lightweight sand in a sense when it spins off. When you see the fluff out there when they're going through the stuff, you can see how lightweight it is.
There's just so much roost. I came around after the finish line, just got blasted in the visor, and I went to tear a tear off and I couldn't grab it. Then the visor came up and I got roost in the eyes.
Some of these tracks we go through, Charlotte, Chicago, I might go through 5-6 tear-offs in the whole race, and I think I went through that the first lap. So.
Right, yeah. Yeah, it was a little wet on yesterday's Pro 2 race.
We've got 20 to 30 tear-offs on our helmet, so you're ripping them tear-offs. If it's a track like Bark River or Crandon where you're going 100 miles an hour and that roost is coming up in your face, you've got a matter of seconds to rip that off and get back at it. Sometimes you're better off not to go for the tear-off. Just give it a wipe and just see a little bit until things get clear to go for a tear-off, because if you miss and you still can't see at that speed, it can get bad.
Here, you have to race knowing you can't follow somebody. If you follow somebody, you're not going to be able to see where you're going. Somewhat watching motocross.
Yeah.
They never follow each other,
No.
and that's like what it is here. There's so much roost. You follow somebody, you can't see where you're going, you're not going to make up time, so you got to kind of move over, take off your line, and try to make up time there.
So when you're out front, are you trying to roost me?
Yeah. Oh, he's on the right. Move over here. It's on the left.
Roost is a great tactic. As soon as you blind his vision, he's got to let up on the gas.
They talking about that tactic, and it's like, a lot of times I think I would disrupt myself more than I would do good, honestly. And I've heard, other people try to do that. It's like, well, if you're trying to do that, you're worried about me.
Once you're out front, you need to be looking forward, and if you're thinking about the guy behind you, then he's going to come up and pass you no matter what.
I know the guy can't run the perfect line on you. He's got to run different lines. You're always trying to just a little bit of swerve, a little bit more gas, get a little more roost going in him.
I don't swerve around the track trying to roost somebody. People that do feel that they're trying to roost the people behind, well, great. I think that if it's me, I'm more in your head than what you should be thinking of out in front of you.
These Pro 2s are so fast and they have massive weight that you can't really put the truck where you want to put it to make the guy eat a roost. When you have someone like Bryce Menzie, Rob McCachran, Jeff Kincaid, these guys are right there. If you say, boy, if I'm going through that area, I'm going to throw a roost at these guys, you don't stand a chance. They're going to give you a door and move you out of the way.
You want to take his line away and make him go somewhere else. So you're always trying to spray the roost into your competitor where take advantage of what you can use, to try to get away from them.
If you're focused on the guys behind you, you're not going forward. So when you're out front, I don't really think roost is a big effect of trying to use it to slow your competition down. Just here, it's so bad at Bark River that no matter where you are on the track, you're going to get roost to your face. My opinion on Rob Mack, he's an awesome guy. He's the guy you look at in off-road racing. He's the guy that lives, breathes, sleeps it. He's one of the guys that does this for a living.
We're fortunate enough that this is what we do. Other people have to, they have regular jobs, and that takes their, 8 hours of their day away. And it's going to be tough for them.
He drives desert car. He drives out west in that series. He drives every day.
He's in a race car.
He's in a race car once a week. To be able to do what he's done, I'd love to do that. I wish I had that opportunity. That man's in a truck every day of the week.
You don't even have a weekend off. You're always in the car, which is a huge advantage. No matter what, you're driving, it's always going to transfer into something.
Yeah, and I do. I jump. A lot of people say, how do you jump from, your Pro 2 out in the other series into this one? And it's like, I get in the thing and I just go, okay, this is where I'm at right now. And I typically race, you know, more races every year or more series every year than anyone else does. So I think that there's, you know, respect of that, but I also think it possibly is putting more of a target on my back.
To me, he's the man. I think everybody pretty much wants to follow what Rob Mack has done.
Checkered flag. Good job, Rob. Great job, guys. We outlasted them. Good job, Rob. Thank you guys for all your hard work and efforts and everything, keeping this truck running.
You know, I started racing off-road buggies in 1982, mainly because my dad raced in the early 70s, and you know, when I turned 16, he asked, "Do you have any interest in off-road racing?" And I'd raced motorcycles, and I said, "Hey, let's give it a shot. You know, we'll go out there and try it." I go, but I was really worried. What if I don't like it? You know, we make this investment in this buggy, and then I don't like it. He said, "No problem. Put it up for sale. Move on to something else." So I absolutely fell in love with the sport and ended up winning. I think the first 3 years was winning the championship and winning 5 out of 6 races each year, and kind of just kept flourishing from then. And that was really when I realized, wow, I could make a career out of this.
Rob Mack is probably the biggest legend of our sport that we're actually all privileged to get to witness him going for history.
I've really never been one much for counting. I do like winning the championship. I do like winning races.
You know, him to be approaching 200 wins is incredible. That's an accomplishment that I don't know if anybody will ever be able to reach again.
200 wins is 200 wins to me. Most people think a good year is like 4 or 5 wins. A good year for him is like, I don't know, 15, 20 wins.
What is like the secret to getting to 200, getting all those wins, and becoming, you know, such a great driver and what you are today?
Well, a lot of it, you know, 30 years. You got a lot of seat time, a lot of track time.
Rob MacCachren, he's getting 200, and that's unbelievable. I mean, he's been doing this for a long time, but 200 wins, I don't even know anybody else in off-road or in our sport that even has close to that.
I guess MacCachren, he's going for the 200th win today.
Yeah, it's, you know, he's been racing a long time, races a lot of things, but I mean, 200 wins in anything, that's quite a feat, you know. It's going to be awesome once he pulls it off. It could be a once-in-a-lifetime thing, you know, in our sport.
I mean, Rob Mack, he's awesome. I mean, he's probably the GOAT of off-road racing. He's been there changing my diapers. He's been there when I took the training wheels off my bicycle. He's been there when I first rode a dirt bike. I mean, he was part of my life forever, and now to be racing against him, it's just amazing.
When I first came back to race here, I stayed at Johnny Grease's shop in 1997. He was in diapers, riding his bicycle training wheels. and
now he's battling me.
Yeah, now he's battling me. We had the Honda Cubs, and me and Johnny, we used to do wheelie contests up and down the street in front of his house, and I'd get him on the front with me, and we'd do wheelies, and Johnny see me doing it, he's like, "No, Rob."
He races a lot of different things, with racing in the desert and with racing that. But I'll tell you one thing, you know, I mean, if I'm out there today and I'm in the lead, and I don't know what you're thinking, but if you're in the lead, I ain't gonna let him pass. You know, I mean, just because we know he can take and earn it on us, we don't want him to earn it on us. He's got to earn that win.
I'm going out there to win, and if anything, it gives me more motivation to not let him get that 200 wins.
Racing here at Bark River, you know, it would be awesome, you know, to win the 200 here in front of all those people.
The friendship that Rob and I have has grown, you know, in the last couple of years. I've been his crew chief, you know, and I'd like to be there with him for it.
If Rob's behind us and we don't give him a chance to get by us, that's too bad. He's got to earn it, you know.
If him and I are battling today,
I don't care if it's a 200 win or not. You know, I'm going for the top of the box today.
200 wins for him does me no good. I don't care how many wins he has.
If it were me, I wouldn't want somebody winning that on my watch.
And I'm going to do everything I can possible not to let him get that win. You know, I don't want to be the guy that he got a 200th win when he was racing Bryce. So having 200 wins, that's just unbelievable, but I don't want to see it done on my watch.
If we're coming down to the white flag lap, Jeff Kincaid ain't going to give it to him. Rob Mack will have to earn it himself.
He's a class act. He'll get it. It's just a matter of, you know, when, and I hope it's not today.
No way. I'm not going to let him buy it. If he wants it, he's got to earn it.
Let's get it done.
Welcome, everyone, to the Boss Snowplow Bark River International Off-Road Raceway. We got Pro 2 at the line, Jimmy.
You know, what an amazing track this is. One of the super speedways, if you will. A lot of the drivers out here, this is their favorite place to be. Super high speed.
Rob Mack getting ready for his, hopefully this weekend, 200th career win of BF Goodrich Tires.
What a history going along with a sponsor dating so far back in Rob's career.
You know, something like that is so unheard of these days, where one particular driver stays with one particular company for so long.
He's going to need every bit of those tires and everything else to get through this super deep field out here today to get that 200th win.
And what's neat about Bark River is, like, they look at the schedule during the offseason, every driver does, and they put a little star next to each particular one that they want to key on. Bark River is one of those starred weekends.
Take a look at Jeff Kincaid coming in here. Quite a rivalry building up between him and Bryce Menzies, coming out of Chicago earlier on. You know, maybe a little payback, looking for a little bit of redemption.
A rolling start. We're headed up towards that Red Bull starting line. Steve Barlow, CJ Greaves. Here we go. Green flag is out.
And Rob McCachran already getting a face full of roost.
Steve Barlow, the whole shot, headed into turn number 1. CJ Greaves the inside. Taylor way outside in third.
Mike Jenkins in the 47 tracks this machine.
Real tricky turn 1, headed to turn number 2. The guys basically are sideways one way or the other all the way through the corner. Barlow with about a 2-3 car length lead over CJ Greaves. And Taylor's up by 2 wheels. Bounces off the inside tire markers, but saves it.
Okay, it's slippery back here. There's that eggshell underneath your feet.
Steve Barlow still continues to lead the pack. CJ Greaves and Scott Taylor running in the top 3.
This is the highest speed part of this track. Long left-hand sweeper. And you can see the roost that's being kicked up on all the drivers. And here comes McCachran to the outside.
We talked about Rob coming in here, looking for win number 200. A lot of big company up front that he's got to deal with right now.
Finesse. Use that finesse.
CJ Greaves has got a mirror full of Scott Taylor and Jeff Kincaid. Kincaid setting up now for Taylor. Watch the outside-inside move. And Kincaid now up alongside of Scott Taylor.
You got to be tighter there. You got to be tighter.
Side by side to the rhythm section. Taylor will now hang out in the spot as CJ Greaves has a little bit of room now between him and Taylor.
With all the beating and banging going on with Taylor and Kincaid, CJ tries to pull away as he starts to reel in the leader, Steve Barlow, coming down the high-speed hill.
Our top 5 trucks right now pretty much evenly gapped out as they head through turn number 1.
Center, nice job. Still clear by 3.
Steve Barlow in that Realtree Outdoor Energy Drink entry really needs a good run today. It's been a while since we've seen him running up front. It's so cool to see him doing it today.
Well, being able to start on the pole and being out front, the only truck not having dust in its face, definitely where he wants to be right now. CJ Greaves closing the gap.
Big time closing the gap. He's now doing 1 truck length.
Clear by 2 on Taylor.
What a great run right now by CJ Greaves. We talk about Barlow, but how about the young gun, 17 years old, taking out one of the veterans of this sport. Headed through the cemetery turn in the far section of this track. One of the highest speed, I can't emphasize enough, nearly 90 miles an hour through that corner.
After the downhill run, a little bit of cushion. Slippery on the inside yet.
Speaking of slippery, CJ Greaves drops back a couple car lengths, and Scott Taylor's closing in on him.
At the bottom of the big hill, they got that 90-degree right-hand corner. Now through the rhythm section. CJ Greaves goes inside of Barlow. Barlow goes way out into the flop.
Hold it. Jump out, yeah.
Barlow still hanging there with the momentum on the outside, but CJ Greaves completes the pass and is the new leader.
Okay, don't open the door.
Barlow trying to come back to the inside.